Hello everybody, this is the top-down analysis for the next week. So we had some volatile events here over the last, let's say, 2 or 3 weeks. We had the midterm elections in the US, and coming out of that, we saw, yeah, the last 2 days were really strong volatile days. Well, we had some other days here with quite some big bars, right, in both directions. And that has trapped quite a number of people, especially here around this important level, right? I mean, it's not only the big numbers, the par level that is important, but the levels that are printed by the patterns, right? So this is a flat level, you can draw it to the right. These are important levels too that remain there, even when the pattern is is far behind. So now we're basically testing this, the level of this pattern, right? And what we see here, well, this is a stop run move, right? So we basically had these two options. Either this is a consolidation, it continues further down, right, in trend direction, basically having broken the par level and running below. Well, now it more looks like, well, we get a multi-month or multi-week or multi-month pullback, right, back into the range. And then this is just well, let's say we get here, well, then in hindsight we see, well, that was only a test of the par level. We didn't actually break through. And with this strong price action, well, it looks like, right, that this is happening now, this move. Well, we have to see. We're kind of not. We are kind of still stuck in a range. So let's just determine the range. Well, the range basically is is the high of this pattern, and it's the low, the price low, right? So this is the range now. We have to see. We're gonna get that. Yeah, this is the range. Well, let's just draw it with a color. So this is the range, right? It's quite broad, and in the middle, well, in the middle we've got the par level, right, and these two patterns, and we've got prior price support and resistance. So now let's see what happens, right? We might get here now to the 200. Well, that would still be part of the range, right, testing the upper boundary. Then let's see what happens. I don't think that we will see like a straight line up, right, a pullback on the higher time frames. Probably we might see that it bounces back into the range, and that it tries to, that it basically forms a bottom over the next couple of weeks. And then, well, if it can establish outside for a couple of days, let's say, if it can establish itself on top of this line, and then building pressure, and we see bullish patterns, right? Well, then we can think, well, then these become, right, the lower highs of the prior downtrend. Well, these become stop run levels if we get a pullback. Well, then we see bullish patterns forming on lower time frames. Well, then we can say, well, okay, we might actually go for running those stops, right? Those stop run levels. So what we've seen is actually not euro strength. Well, we see US dollar weakness. Let's have a quick look through these other pairs, because we don't see euro strength, right? Not versus the pound. We don't see versus the yen. We don't see versus the Swiss. Well, quite the opposite, right? We see Swiss strength. Well, we see some against the CAD, right? We see nothing against the odd. So what we see is dollar weakness, right? We see it against all other cross currencies. So the Australian dollar, that was really weak before. So now here we've got the pullback, right? So dollar weakness, even against the pound. The pound was really weak, right? But now we see the pullback on the higher time frames here, the weekly. Let's have a quick look here at the monthly again. So way overextended, right? So we basically have now this other scenario that we see a multi-month pullback, right? When you never know, this could be one big green bar and it's only 1 month pullback, but I rather think about seeing a couple of green bars, maybe 1 or 2 red bars, right? That might be multi-month, maybe 4 or 5 months, right? That it takes. Here against the Kiwi, against the Swiss, right? We've got a huge move here, dollar weakness. So the Swiss is really strong. Let's have a quick look a little bit later at the Euro Swiss. So the Swiss is really strong, right? So now we come back here to this, like my long-term view, right? That the US Swiss, like that this is a very bearish pattern. Well, that's an S1 pattern. And this was just a pullback, right? A deep test, right? Test goes beyond the flat line, it goes to the par level and to the 200. And if we sell off now with good follow through, right? I mean, we need to see if this is still in action. Well, then we should see a bearish follow through to develop here, right? So we've got one big red bar. Well, the month is not closed. We have the 12th, so we're the middle of the month. So this could look different, right? In 3 weeks. But if we get now a good decent sized red bar and we get another red bar developing, well, then we're basically back into a bearish into bearish mode. Then we should actually see that the Swissy is getting really strong here against the dollar. So if that happens, that basically means that money is looking for a safe haven if the Swissy gets strong. And the safe haven is not perceived as being the US dollar, right? So a lot of money goes into the Swissy instead of the US dollar. So that would be quite an interesting event. I don't know what needs to happen, but we'll see. So what we see right now is dollar weakness. We've got a pullback. It's kind of a technical reaction, right, after these strong uptrends. And once this technical reaction, which can be traded obviously, right, on lower time frames, the only thing is we do not have swing potential, right, because it can basically go down here to the 1.3 level. We do not have the swing potential, but we have the potential to run it down, right, to these levels. Here the US yen, interesting how these are the levels where we got a Bank of Japan intervention. How price fell out of that box, right? Again, here we've got a technical pullback to the 21 moving average. It's kind of a decent sized pullback we can expect on this time frame on the weekly. While on the monthly we had such a big up run. It can even pull back further, or this ends to be a 1 bar pullback as we had before, right? Coming back to the 8. So we have to see how this month ends. But we basically we don't have much more space to go here trading a US yen short. It has basically come back to a support level, prior price action. So trading the US yen short, well, I would be really cautious now. It's not on the top of the list, certainly. Right. So here the against the Swiss, right? Swiss is strong. Well, you can see it here. It's an S1 pattern, basically, right? Not a good one, but it's an S1, and that might trigger. We've got the stop run levels, and we're nice. So the Swiss is basically the only currency that is continuing its prior strong trend, right? Let's have a quick look at the Euro Swiss. So the Euro Swiss again, right? It had its pullback, where it did not come back to the par level, right? So it had its pullback, and the Swissy might be the strongest, I mean the most stable currency to trade, because it remains in its overall trending direction, right? Here again the Swiss, right, against the odd. Well, this was a potential S1 pattern here without TC2 being in an uptrend, but like the TC pattern was an S1, and it looks like it's going to fail, right? A failure means a failure to follow through is kind of a counter trend signal. So if this breaks, if this line breaks here, well, then we can again here, right, it goes in the direction of the overall Swiss trend it had for months and years before. Same here, Swiss against the CAD, right? We have broken important support here in this long-term down. We've got our monthly pattern that was just a pullback. So we might see something similar with the US Swiss, right? Pullback, and now we're back, basically we're back into this long-term downtrend with a lot of room to go, right? So there's a lot of room for expansion. So the Swiss has swing potential in all the cross currencies in the higher time frames. And for all other pairs, like not including the Swiss, it remains a bit uncertain, right? Same situation like with the euro dollar here, with the pound CAD. Is this a multi-month, multi-week pullback, or are we going basically, yeah, to find like that it rounds up and we resume the overall downtrends? It could as well like go sideways for a prolonged time, right, instead of making a pullback. But it looks like we have a little bit of a continuation, right? We might get good trades with a snapback to the moving averages, right? Snapback means we get a series of green bars, either a series of small green bars or just a few bigger green bars. So that offers opportunities, trading the snapback to the moving average. And basically what it means, like the Swiss looks like a great currency pair to trade. And in such a market situation, well, what we have is the range plays, right? So for example, Odd New Zealand, this is the range play, had tried to break out of this range, it couldn't, right? And now we're basically back into the range and we have room to drop to the bottom of the range. So that's a range play. We've got another range play, which is here the pound New Zealand, right? Which is in the range in the overall downtrend. So it's nice to trade the range play down to the bottom range and then have the potential to break out of the range. So this is a range play that has swing potential, right? A short. Again, this one, Euro New Zealand, it's a range play, right? We had an S1 here, went down to this level. Well, now we've got we established this range, right? So, well, let's draw that. So it opens up this range play to the bottom, right? And then we have, well, this S1 here, right? And we might see much lower prices again. Range play with swing potential short. So just overall from the point of a dollar weakness, something is going on, right? This is the biggest bar, or whatever this turns out to be, like the color. Sorry, this is the week, yeah. So, well, the week has finished, right? So this is the biggest bar. We've got a bold green bar. So this is the biggest bar, if you look back, right, for quite some time. So something is going on here, right? So we had big bars like that here back in March 2020. So something big is going on with the elections. We might get major shifts. I'm not sure what exactly might happen, right? We had midterm elections. We have to see what happens. And as always, the markets will tell us, well, if something is happening here. US dollar against the Singapore, again, we've got a huge red bar, right? So something is going on, right? And increased volatility, well, that's always good for traders, right? And let's see what comes out of that. We had a couple of difficult weeks here with low market responsiveness, well, influenced by by political events. And whenever we had a couple of weeks, like a couple of quiet weeks, well, you can expect, because everything is cyclical, right? A couple of weeks of weak market responsiveness, well, we should actually get a couple of weeks of very good market responsiveness. So that's it. Thanks a lot.